Hi, this is Atya here. Welcome to PhDpreneur, where we discuss PhD mindset and personal finance. If you are a student, you must have always wondered how a research paper looks like, how an academic paper looks like. So I'm here to share what are the different parts of a research paper. We will see what are the different types, what goes into each section, how many words it is, and basically everything that you need to know about a research paper. So without further ado, let's begin with today's video. A research paper should describe everything in a comprehensive manner. It should give all the points, related points, and it should facilitate understanding. Sometimes I see research papers written in such a complicated manner that even people from their own field won't understand. If a person is not exposed to the topic at all, then also from introduction he should get the idea about what the research paper is. At least for me, that is the first step for any paper. We will see into the different parts, but this is one thing that you might want to remember. The structure should be such that it should facilitate easy navigation. Of course, we have introduction, literature, review, methodology, everything, all that is there. Within that particular section also, things should flow in a way that one thing leads to another. These are 2 points that I want everyone to remember when it comes to writing a research paper. If you critically think, there are over 8 different types of research paper. There is analytical, experimental, comprehensive. I'm not going to break my head and your head with respect to those explaining different types of research papers, because most often than not, research papers are divided into 2 basic categories. One is the experimental, where you perform the experiment, whatever your findings are, that you publish. Now, whenever we say research paper, this actually applies to the first category, that is experimental. It is a primary source of information. You are doing experiment, you are publishing your data. So there is no third party involved. So it is direct. The second type of paper is called as review paper, and what does it mean is that you want to make a comprehensive analysis of all the different types of things that are going on with that particular topic. Say I take an example of biogas. I want to make a list of all the technologies which are used to produce biogas, their advantages, disadvantages. So that paper will be a one-stop destination for everything related to that topic. What I will have to do is I will have to read all the research papers which are in that area and then take information and put it together in one document. It is a secondary source of information. That means you have not done any experiment. You are trying to gather information from all those who have done the experiment. The focus of this video will be the type 1, that is experimental or research paper, because I believe that is the one which is used most and published most by PhD students. So we'll discuss about that in detail. So this is how the paper looks like. The first section over here is title Optimum Organic Loading Rates for Food Waste Anaerobic Digestion, and it is a study case from University of Indonesia. Then you have the authors, then you have their designations as well as their address. Okay, and these are details as to when this article was received, when it was revised, and when it was accepted. So these are some of the details that happen in the title section. Here this is the detail related to the journal. The journal is International Journal of Technology. These are the details related to that. Here also the details is related to the title. Now with respect to title means what is the content of the manuscript, what is the content that you get to know by all this information. Basically, what is the meaning of this entire paper. Next, after title, you have the abstract. Now, abstract in literal forms, it is the summary of the paper. Now, in title, the entire paper was summarized in one line. Summary gives you a little bit more gist of the paper, but not as much as the entire paper. So, generally, it is quite crisp, around 200 words. You need to give maximum information in limited words. So here they have summarized the experiments as well as the result. Initially they have stated the objective over here, then they have summarized these results, and discussion they have not done, but sometimes one line of discussion also will do. In the end, this is interesting, they have used keywords. Now why are keywords used? Keywords are nothing but words are symbolic of your research. Now here the paper is about biogas and everything. So they have used biogas inhibitor, municipal waste and renewable energy as keywords. So if this article has to be searched, then these keywords will be helpful. Moving on to introduction. The introduction sets the initial tone for research paper. One thing I wish to suggest about introduction is, even if the person is not from the field, from the introduction he should be able to understand what the research paper is about. It gives background information about the topic, reasons why present study is being carried out, all the research that is there that has been done previously, what is new that you are getting to the table, what is the scope of research, what is the uniqueness and novelty of study. The last paragraph of introduction should tell you about the complete organization of paper. Here in the end they have stated, this study aims to determine the optimum OLR needed to produce VSD using a semi-continuous pilot scale dry anaerobic digester. So here they have again repeated the objectives. Introduction is slightly longer than your abstract. It is quite longer than your abstract, but less than your literature of review in terms of words. One section that this paper doesn't have, but sometimes some papers have, especially from humanities or from other disciplines, that is literature review. Literature review means what all research has been done previously in this field. Now, whenever you are doing the experiment, you are not the first one who will be doing the experiment. In that field only, with respect to your experiment, what all work has been done. It also mentions research gaps to prove uniqueness of study. References are also quoted. You don't, in introduction, if you see, the references are quoted, but not to that extent. Okay, here in this particular paper, they have tried to combine introduction as well as literature of review. So they have given the statements and they have stated the literature review. But you can have a separate section with an exhaustive literature review. That is also accepted. Moving on to methodology, that is materials and methods. By far, this is the easiest part of the paper to write. It should be well written, clear and logically organized. Whatever experiments are there, it should tie up to the objective of the paper. If the objective of the paper is to do an experiment A and find out about that experiment, then in the materials and methods also you should have the same thing. There should not be any kind of mismatch. These materials and methods could be case study based. Sometimes it is based on the experiment that you have conducted in the lab. So that all depends to you and how you take it. It is also important that you create a flow chart of the materials and methods. If you see the style of methodology that is written, first they have said about experimental setup, the background of how the experiment started. Then he has moved to also included pictures, analytical methods. What were the actual methods? What is the frequency of how result is taken with respect to temperature, total ammonia, nitrogen and everything. This will of course differ from student to student and from discipline to discipline. There is a systematic progression from the experimental setup, the background, and then he has proceeded to pictures and then proceeded to analytical methods. You can also divide it into more steps. If it is case study based, then you can divide it accordingly as to how the participants were selected, what was the findings, what was the background. So you can divide accordingly. That moving on to the next part, results have to be written in a sequential manner. Say suppose first in methodology you have mentioned one experiment, then those results will come first. Second, you have mentioned something else in methodology, so those results will come second. So there has to be a sequence. Tables and figures need to be given. You can see how the tables and figures are given over here. Write accordingly. Here, conclusion, you can briefly state about objectives, major findings, what is the unique contribution and limitation, and future study if required. Then you can edit. So here he has not put any separate section for discussion. If you want, you can add a separate section and discuss about the conclusion that you have received. It should have the findings should be interpreted in context to research questions mentioned in the paper, whatever findings you have received, so that you can compare it to the previous studies and give your opinion about it. Then you have the acknowledgement. So what is the style of references that you will have to check? There are several styles. Sometimes the authors are given first, followed by the title. Sometimes the title is given first, followed by different details. So these were the different parts of the research paper. Now that we have seen all the different sections, I hope today's video has been quite comprehensive in conveying the message that it wanted to convey. Sometimes what happens is the research paper looks very innovative, but the way it's written later, this you get to know once you start reading. Sometimes the information is not quite written well. So it is best not to judge a research paper by first few lines. Go through it, skim through it, and you will understand how things work over here. See you till next time.